Well, we have ridden, as I mentioned, some fantastic trails out here in La Palma. And one man who certainly knows his technical climbs is many times Vice World Trials Champion and one of the pioneers of uphill flow, Stefan Schlie. Stefan, what a fantastic few days. We've ridden such diverse uphills on this island. We've ridden switchbacks, outcrops, high mountain, loose ground, all requiring very specific techniques in the same way as downhill requires that for different types of downhill. But I want to chat to you about the terrain we rode, starting off with the switchbacks down in Tazacorte, Porto. Intense climb, 600 meters. Lots of turns in it. The surfaces were pretty grippy, but physicality of a climb like that, that's not, I mean, it's totally out of reach for mountain bikes, isn't it? And even on eMTB, it's really intense, isn't it?
Yeah, it's absolutely intense because it's so steep. You need so much of your power, and then the position on your bike is super special. And if we're talking about all the curves, you need to use different techniques. You need to see the line. You need to understand quite quickly which technique you want to use. If we're talking about the power turn or the Sprungwende. Yeah?
Sprungwende. Sprungwende is the
flick turn is like a like the flick turn or whatever. Yeah. And then you are always also in a very extreme position over your handlebar and need to see the next difficulty. It's just demanding all the time, thinking physically, really.
Just as you would on a downhill run. You know, downhill was close to my heart for many years. Yeah. But I think is that, you know, switchback used to be the big thing. Everyone used to go in search of the switchbacks at any location, but they were in search of it from a downhill point of view, not an uphill point of view. But now, suddenly, switchbacks have become the thing to do on an e-mountain bike, aren't they?
Absolutely. If you have the right techniques to do this switchbacks, then you are the winner of the game, so to say. And it's much more complicated to do the switchbacks uphill than downhill because you need to care so many things like pedal management, another line. You've seen.
So moving on now to a different type of terrain. Now that is the rock outcrop, which we had at the lower part of the run off the Caldera. Now, pretty much it was a 50-meter section, super steep, about, I don't know, probably about 4 meters wide, but all solid rock, but really knuckly and steppy. And I did, again, physicality off the charts, right?
Yeah, I totally, it feels like Pulse 200. But once you have understood, then if your rear tire has traction, you can go up incredibly steep, and then you have to you have to dance on your bike or make gymnastics on your bike in order to avoid that your front wheel comes up.
Stefan, for me, that is turbo all the way and the easiest gear because it's like that and it's like this. That could possibly be the hardest thing I've ever attempted on an e-mountain bike. Thanks to Stefan Schlie.
Yeah, welcome. Second gear.
He's done it. He's actually done it. Wow. Fair play. That is impressive. Oh. It's an attempt, a bird's eye view of the man himself. There he goes. Now the comparison to that climb to downhill is quite close actually, because that was all about line choice. Downhill, you can have a World Cup downhill track which is, you know, 10 meters wide. It's all about choosing your way. Same on that climb, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Trying to find the line of least resistance, if you like.
I mean, that's the first thing. If you find the best line, then you try to apply the best technique, and then things are possible that you would have where you would have thought that it's impossible just a few years ago.
Yeah. So there you go. That is a comparison there. Now we then moved on to that climb that you really liked, didn't you? Up on the top of the hill, the steppy. It was pretty much a riverbed, wasn't it? And what you have there, you have rock, but you have changing gradients over 100 meters. It was a tough one, that, wasn't it?
super tough. And here you need to consider also the mode thing. And if the gradient is changing all the time, maybe turbo is a disadvantage because it just tries to leave your foot.
That was an interesting one actually, because Stefan, I didn't really fully understand the extended boost feature on the eMTB mode on the Bosch motor, and pretty much it allows you to keep your pedals kind of horizontal, and you kind of go, because what happens with the eMTB mode, it gives you a lower power support or a higher power support if you need it. Yeah. So you can go, you can pulse your way up the hill, can't you?
Yeah. No, I mean the eMTB mode you can choose between tour and turbo just with the pressure on the pedal. But a really important thing is the extended boost, like we could see in some sections there, because it was simply not possible to make full turns with your pedal. So you can keep them more or less parallel, and you move yourself.
Yeah. So tell us, now Stefan rode with my colleague Martin Ashton, who's like an incredible trials rider. Can you compare how difficult was that section compared to riding at world level and trials?
That's difficult. That's difficult to compare. It's two different things, because the e-bike with the weight and the motor, and the trials bike where you're hopping all the time. This you cannot.
But it is trials though. It's uphill trials, isn't it?
If you come to the limits, then it's trials technique. It is. It just is. It's a pedal management thing, which is super important in the trials competitions, and same here.
Yeah, but now we were talking on the hill. We actually go in search of those sections now, because it's so cool to master a section like that, isn't it?
It's super cool, huh? And it's like you see that. This is the trials thought, no? You see that, and it's possible. It will be difficult, but it's possible. And you try it once and twice, and then you do it, and it's like you're happy then.
Yeah. So do you think maybe e-mountain bikes have been around, well, ones that are good for probably like 5-6 years? Do you think sooner or later people are going to catch on to this the thrill of climbing a riverbed or a rock outcrop and something like that?
Sooner or later, there is already a crowd, a small crowd, doing that and thinking that. But it will be more and more once the people understand. Many people have e-mountain bikes right now, and they will look for challenges. And the good thing of all that is that if you're gonna try all the things up the hill with your e-mountain bike, you're not too fast. Yeah, and if you make mistakes and you fall down, nothing happens. No?
Yeah, exactly. Balance, line choice, it's all good stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, it's cool.
Now, before we move on to the final sort of example of climbs, and believe me, we did many. Do you think that the whole point of this discussion is? Do you think uphill skills are sort of good for your downhill skills as well?
Yeah, absolutely, because you have to learn it super strict, and it's like when you do the trials training. Yeah, you do something, you learn thinking in slow motion style. You see yourself in slow motion. Everything must be super accurate, and if you can do that, it helps everywhere. It helps uphill and downhill also.
Yeah.
In the downhills, you don't have to consider so many things.
Well, you do have to consider your pedals, the position of your pedals as well. But there's actually quite a lot of the top World Cup downhill racers are actually good trials riders as well. And the final section, Stefan, was that horrible loose rock section.
Yeah.
So much to think about there. Do you go slow? Do you go fast? What's your line choice? What's your power mode?
The gear.
The gearing. It's a tough one, wasn't it?
Yeah, super tough. And it's always like a 50-50 feeling that you can manage it or not.
Here's an easy one. You've got solid ground versus loose ground. Loose ground is always a lottery.
Yeah, try to avoid.
Yeah, always go for the solid ground, right?
Yeah, right.
Mode?
Mode, just choose the eMTB mode. You can always need it, and you save some battery also.
And your own energy as well,
and your own energy as well.
You can pretty much crawl up here, I'm guessing.
Yeah, just go very slow, and you can check everything, save your energy, and...
Yeah, because if you're in the eMTB, that motor it's amazing how much it does support you.
If you want, it supports you until the turbo, and if not, you save the energy in the tour level.
Cool. Stefan, probably one of the most extreme examples of hill climbing. You got a bank and loose marbles.
Yeah, and extremely steep. So you definitely would not like to do it with a non-e-bike.
Yeah.
So if you see this as an e-mountain bike, you say, okay, strategy point number one is choose the eMTB mode, in my opinion.
Because?
Because you have a very wide bandwidth. You can use the Tour and the Turbo mode in one mode. You can find your traction and your power very easy.
Alternatively, going to turbo and straight line it, yeah?
It's another strategy, might work also. We see which is better.
This is actually a classic example of an extreme climb because this is hard, Stefan.
Yeah, I'm just gonna try it also, and when I do the boost, I say boost. Boost, boost. Hi.
You said third, and I thought I listened to what Stefan says. Of course, Stefan's 70 kilos and I'm 90, well, maybe 95. So I needed to go in a lower gear than you did. So I went into second then, not third. It made that, I could get the acceleration a little bit quicker.
But you could bring the traction on the ground in second gear?
Plus the rest of it once I...
Like we saw the better choice in this section was not the eMTB mode,
Yeah.
as normally always.
Yeah.
It was the turbo mode because the consistency of your pedaling was better there.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a, I mean, the bottom line of this conversation, it's ultimately, it's a huge puzzle to work out, isn't it?
Yeah.
Every time you go on an eMTB ride, honestly, I absolutely love it. Stefan, thanks so much for joining us. Folks, if you're worried about coming to the island of La Palma, don't, because they're really keen for you guys to come and visit, because the tourism mountain bike industry has taken a massive hit, isn't it? I think 50% of the economy of this island is tourism. So get yourselves out here, great food, great weather, great trails. Nice one, Stefan.
Yeah.